Hello, everybody. Welcome to the What's Up podcast, the World of Tanks podcast that you need to know everything about this game and stay up to date. Today, we are joined by one of my fellow clan members and friend, Mo Pineapple.
Hello, everybody.
Before we begin, Mo, do you have any social medias you'd like to plug?
Sure. Follow me on Instagram, guys. If you have any questions, just holla.
All right, cool, perfect. So, guys, you heard it. If you have any questions regarding what we discuss here, or if you just want to have a chat with Mo, find out what he gets up to, go find him at Mo_Pineapple on Instagram. Alternatively, you can also find me on twitch.tv or on YouTube at Ixta101. So we are talking about the removal of team damage and team battles since update 1.6. It was a while ago, but it's a hot topic that a lot of people like to discuss, at least the team damage part. So let's get right into it, shall we? World of Tanks removed team battles and team damage in update 1.6. Their main goal was removing team damage so that accidents didn't happen as often in battles. Stuff such as, the typical driving into an ally's shot, or accidentally shooting the back of an ally's turret because he pulls into your gun. While they did have good intentions by, trying to remove accidents, accidentally ram killing light tanks because they're not looking where they're going, they drive into your heavy. I'm sure Mo's had that a couple of times in skirmishes, right, Mo?
Yes, I have. That has happened.
But while they were trying to just remove all these accidents, Mo, what do you think of the removal of team damage? How has it affected the game in your opinion? And was it the right call, or has it led to a worse situation where trolls are allowed to get away with things they couldn't get away with before?
Before we get into the troll side, I think there are some other issues with it as well.
Oh, what might that be?
Because you did have accidents. You did have. I was in a KV4, for example, and some light tank at the beginning of the game just rams into me, loses a ton of HP for no reason.
Right.
Or you're fully zoomed in, you're not aware of your surroundings, and you shoot an ally that gets in your way. Happened quite a bit.
Right.
But what I feel like this removes from the game is it forces you to be aware of your surroundings when you have the chance of hitting an ally.
Right.
It forces you to be aware of who's around you, what you're hitting, and when you're taking your shots.
So, do you think the removal of team damage was a good idea? Was it the right call for them to make, or do you think it could have been handled differently?
I think it has its ups and downs, and I think that you have the issue of trolls, and you have the issue that team damage does help players improve because it keeps them aware of their surroundings.
Right.
But in the end game, it seems today that trolls haven't disappeared, as we all know, because in indirectly or direct way, they are able to mess with you, and you cannot retaliate.
Right.
Or if a troll messed with you, you shot him. Simple as.
So
nowadays,
I'm guessing what World of Tanks were trying to do by removing team damage was they were trying to prevent those situations where someone rolls forwards, eats a shot from your tank, or you roll forwards and eat a shot from an ally's tank, or someone ricochets off the enemy and accidentally hits you and kills you. I've seen that happen before. I've seen a double ricochet kill a tank before. And just sort of like little situations like that, or where a light tank goes around a corner, runs into a heavy tank, ram kills them by accident on their own team. I think that's what they were trying to remove, thinking that was the biggest contribution to team damage. And I think a lot of the times they lose sight that it's not. But we'll save that topic for a little later on in this podcast. Reading over the article that World of Tanks posted, when was this? Back in the 10th of the 7th in 2019, when they removed the actual friendly fire. They said, and this is me quoting directly from their website, remember how frustrating it was to drive your light tank into a heavy tank and get damage. Now it's impossible even if an ally decides to purposefully ram you during the battle. Another typical situation that usually ended up with a duel is an ally driving into your reticle during your shot. All the damage went into an unlucky ally that drove forward at a wrong time instead of that TD in those bushes. It won't happen anymore. If you hit an ally, you will only scratch their paint with a non-penetration or ricochet marker, and you will be able to recognize friendly fire with an alternative sound and visuals that they are different from the effects of enemy shells. So what I'm getting from this is they're trying to stop mistakes from happening that end up leading to like mass team killing and so on, like where you accidentally shoot one guy, so he turns around, shoots you, your platoon mates turn around, shoot him, his platoon mates turn around, shoot you, that sort of thing. That sort of childish playground sort of brawl, so to speak.
The escalation of force.
Yeah. Basically, they're trying to stop that as opposed to intentional team damage, right? And I don't know if they went about it the right way, because at the end of the day, by removing this team damage, we still see that people can still push you around. You can still end up ramming into allies. Like, it still has its problems, but to say if it achieved its actual goal of stopping accidental team damage, yeah, sure.
Yeah, it did accidental team damage, yes.
But I still don't think it's had as much of an effect as other people would have. Like, at first, it sounded like, yes, finally, team damage is being removed. And then you realize that now there's nothing you can do to stop trolls from shooting you, or to stop, like, people that are actually getting in your way or harassing you from, continuing to do so. There's no way of preventing your teammates from harassing your tank if you are the smaller tank in that situation, right?
Exactly.
I think that can be a problem sometimes, and it also doesn't stop the situation where you accidentally shoot someone. Yeah, it doesn't do damage, but now they're pissed off, thinking you did that on purpose, and then they continue to block you or whatever else. That sort of stuff still happens in the battles, at least in my experience. Do you still see that happen, or do you just see someone takes a shot and then they go, "What the heck, dude?" and it's like, "Sorry, accident," and then they move on?
You do see that, but you did see that before as well. People that say sorry and then move on, it really depends on the character of the person that's playing.
And now that team damage has been removed, you see a lot of people getting away with a lot of stuff they couldn't do beforehand, Like, someone could, before, you could try to block an FV4 or 5 from taking a shot at, your friend on the enemy team while you're doing countdowns, or, prevent him from getting his damage just because you don't like him, right? By just sitting in front of him. And beforehand, he could just slap one into the back of your turret, and that's game over for you. He continues with his day, right? Yeah, maybe he goes blue, maybe he doesn't, depending on how many team kills he's done in the past few hours. But, that's end of that situation. You move on, you learn your lesson, you lose your XP, your credits, whatnot. And then, you eventually get bored. But now it's like this sort of constant thing where people can push your tank around, block you, prevent you from doing anything, especially people who stream snipe and troll on streams. They can really harass you, and there's nothing you can do about it if you're a smaller tank. Like a VK101P pushing an IS3 around, there's nothing the IS3 can do if he can't get away from the VK, Heck, I've seen people tip other tanks, I've seen people block other tanks, What are your thoughts on the trolling and how the removal of team damage has accidentally left a void where you can no longer prevent trolls from getting away with things?
I don't think you could ever prevent trolls. You could give a little bit of payback, yes, and force them not to keep on doing it, but you can never prevent them from doing it in the first place.
Right.
The thing with trolls is, yes, you still do get, I don't know, you're in a light tank in the bush and some medium tank come behind you and push you out. You get killed by an enemy team, there's nothing you can do.
Right.
Now, the issue with this is, how do you stop this kind of trolling from players? How can you introduce a system that prevents this or punishes this? And World of Tanks has that system where you turn blue after dealing X amount of team damage.
Right.
And you used to see a lot more before the removal of, obviously. But it does seem today that responding to trolls is a lot harder, and you suffer a lot more from them.
Right. See, my biggest problem with it is the fact that, there's no deterrent now. Beforehand, trolls could get away with, trolling you, and, you actually had a way of discouraging them from doing that. The fact that you can actually fight back against them. Like, before, yeah, maybe they shoot you and then you move on, right? Or they shoot you, you shoot them, or they shoot you, one of you dies, you guys continue with your battle. But now there's no actual way of doing that besides pushing them off a cliff or tipping their tank, which takes a lot of effort, and it also results in you potentially getting, wasting your time because it takes longer, or you getting caught out by the enemy, or them catching you out, whatever it might be. And to be honest, I'm not a fan of it. It's sort of, in my opinion, personally, and you can, put your words in on this, I think the removal of team damage, while it was, it was here it was implemented with the best of intents, right? But it has left a void that promotes a bit of toxicity within the community in World of Tanks. It allows the trolls and people who don't like other players and whatever else and want to harass them, or people who are just, really toxic in the game when, someone accidentally blocks your shot or whatever, or someone steals your last kill or whatever, right? then it just promotes this toxicity that, you know, beforehand wouldn't have been allowed as much, because your own teammates would shut it down by just team killing that guy right on the spot. How do you feel about that? I feel this leaves a void where toxicity can kind of thrive a bit more, to be honest.
I am, in the end of the day, a supporter for team damage because I do feel it improves overall the ability to, first of all, fight off trolls, and secondly, improves every person's capability within the game of spatial awareness.
Right.
So at the end of the day, yes, even though the removal of team damage does have its benefits, I do think it should return because it outweighs the pros outweigh the cons.
Right.
With the fact that yes, now I can deal with trolls because if they push me out, I will shoot them, I will screw them up. They don't stand a chance. And with the fact that I now know if I'm shooting at a TD in a bush far away, if there's an ally next to me, I have to pay attention to that ally because we share the same space.
Right.
It obligates you to improve yourself and gives you the ability to not be so harassed as you see these days.
So I think the biggest thing about it is, yes, while it has, you know, left that little gap for trolls and for people who want to be toxic to do what they want to do, in general, it has prevented accidents from happening, and which then, you know, results in less confrontations between teammates anyways. While there is, you know, now no real way of dealing with the trolls that you do come across, there are, you know, a relatively small amount of trolls compared to the majority of the community, you know, of World of Tanks players. So I'd say it's not a huge issue, and honestly, if I was World of Tanks or wargaming, I think the way of solving this would be, you know, a report system for people trolling in match, where if they get a certain number of reports out of 15, then team damage is turned on against that person. Might be a bit hard to work into the game, but I think that's probably the best way of fixing that. What do you think?
I think I agree with the whole report system because, as we know, the World of Tanks has its complaint system.
Yeah, which is kind of skewed and doesn't really show much results, does it?
Exactly. People really don't know if it works, if it doesn't work, and should you complain, and at which point is it trolling, at which point is it an accident, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I get that. Right, moving forwards though. One of the things, and we're going to touch on this real quick and then move further forwards, right? But one of the other things about, you know, removal of team damage is artillery. Beforehand, people who hated artillery, or even people who are in platoons with artillery, like me and Martin have done this a couple of times, in all fairness, where we're playing artillery and we want, you know, the other person not to get the final kill or whatever, or we don't like the artillery player, whatever it might be, right? So you stick your barrel in theirs, and what that does is, as soon as they pull the trigger, it ends up team killing them. The artillery, that is. Now that's gone. If they take a shot, it doesn't do that anymore. You cannot kill yourself if you're on shot if someone is blocking it. I personally feel that's great, but my problem with it is that artillery can still kill themselves by aiming at a wall and splashing themselves.
Yes.
So someone can't kill their own artillery by sticking the barrel in the way of the shot, but artillery can still suicide at the end of a match by shooting themselves against the wall. And me personally, I'm not a fan of that. I think it promotes the wrong sort of mentality for artillery players.
So, but that's a whole nother issue altogether. The whole artillery shooting walls, drowning. World of Tanks knows about this because they keep statistics. They showed this in a couple of videos back.
Right.
That they had the next number of players who were playing artillery just drown themselves, and they kept track of it. So if they keep track of it, why don't they punish this behavior? But that's a whole nother issue altogether. The issue is, yes, it's good that now we can put our guns inside artillery's guns, and then, they kill themselves, which, was pretty funny.
Right. But as anyone else that hates artillery will probably agree. It was definitely entertaining, but it was a bit of a
It's trolling.
It was a bit of a move, to be honest.
If World of Tanks wants to crack down on this sort of suicide mentality and the whole trolling and anti-artillery stuff in general, they'll have to go and mess with the artillery class, which I don't think they're really interested in doing.
Yeah. Right. Moving forwards, though, team damage, still available in skirmishes. What are your thoughts on this? Is this a good idea? Because Legionnaires can still team kill or throw matches for your team in skirmishes by shooting you, or other clan members can shoot you, like Toxic and I do a lot of the times at the end of the match. But if this is someone that comes into your skirmish, right, and decides, oh, I don't like the FC or the guy calling the shots here, or I don't like this other guy, let me just shoot him in the back of the tower, and then all of a sudden you lose your hit points. What are your thoughts on this?
So you've touched upon two things there. First of all, Legionnaires, and secondly, the whole team damage thing still being in skirmishes. In skirmishes, you still do team damage, and it can be used to your team's benefit. For example, when capping to gain those extra seconds, as myself and you have done before. And
Right.
I've turned blue for it, if you remember.
Right.
Which is a bit interesting because, we decided to shoot each other, but I
Yeah.
turned blue as if I was doing something wrong. But
Right,
no,
but
it's a
it
game
bought us the
mechanic.
time to draw the actual match out, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
So it's a game mechanic. I'm not abusing anything. I'm doing something to help my team win.
well, I mean, technically we're abusing the game mechanics there,
Yeah,
but
we're abusing the game mechanic. As to Legionnaires, it's sort of, you have to keep in mind that when you're taking a Legionnaire, you're taking a risk.
right,
It's not somebody you know. It's not somebody you can trust. It's just some player that wants to play with you. You don't know.
right.
And in the end, it's like random battles. Like what I said, having it team damage on in skirmishes helps your players stay aware of the other players in the game.
Right. It helps build that situational awareness that it's so key in those sort of game modes, right?
Exactly. In this sort of team-based
Yeah.
battle, you need to be aware of your team.
Right. Staying on that topic for a quick moment, though. So what we're saying is it's one of the risks that come with skirmishes, taking Legionnaires and them doing team damage or whatever, right? But at the end of the day, having that still available allows for those 200 IQ plays where, you extend the time on the capture circle by shooting an ally last second to buy yourself the extra, 3 to 5 seconds, I think it was, that we worked out.
Yeah,
Or, like one of our friends, Lumberjack, our mutual friend, right? When he was playing with, I think it was, I can't remember the clan he was playing with. It might have been with Meme, but they had Daki, the Killzor, FCing for them, right? And what he did, and there was a clip of this on Twitch somewhere, right? And what he did was the Killzor shot Lumberjack in the back with an FE405 for a good 1,500 hit points or so. Left Lumberjack as a one-shot just to bait an enemy that was camping the corner to push around on Lumberjack. As soon as the enemy spotted Lumberjack the second time round on low health, he just decided to go around the corner to try to finish Lumberjack off because he was a one-shot. And then Daki takes the kill with that shot. So it still allows for those sort of insane IQ plays.
It allows more creativity from the team and, crazy ideas because they do work out.
Going back to how we could fix the team battle, the team damage thing, especially in skirmishes and competitive sort of game modes, right? I'm thinking a feature a bit like in games such as Rainbow Six Siege where there's reverse friendly fire, right? If you get shot by an ally, a prompt comes up where it asks you, was that intentional or unintentional? Or was it like abuse or was it not abuse, right? And if it was like abusive friendly fire, right, regardless of if it does damage or not, then you can turn reverse friendly fire on. So if they try to shoot you, it'll do damage to them instead now. But if it's unintentional, then it just sort of ignores that and no damage is dealt to anyone and you move on. I feel like that would be very useful for World of Tanks.
It's actually really interesting that you bring that up.
Right?
I actually very much agree with that. That's actually a very good idea.
That could probably be a great fix. So Wargaming, if any of you are listening to this, here you go, right? Not sure if you can fit that in. Like there must be some copyright going on there with Rainbow Six. But
yeah, having
knows?
a chance to say, was that intentional? Was that not intentional?
Right.
Did I want to receive that damage or did I not want to receive that damage?
Right.
And having the players suffer consequences from that's a good idea.
Yeah. Moving on. Let's talk about team battles now. I think that's enough on team damage for now. Let's move on to team battles. Now, the removal of team battles was an interesting choice, in my opinion, because World of Tanks never mentioned anything about removing it. Never, there was no sort of hints dropped up at removing it, right? It looked like it was there to stay for a while. Then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the next day they announced they're removing it, right? And it was it felt to me personally as a sort of spur of the moment action. They couldn't have been bothered to keep up with updating it, making sure it's all working, all that sort of stuff. They just decided to remove it as if it wasn't worth their time. They just sort of last minute sort of thing. But did you ever try team battles, and what was your thought on the entire game mode?
As you know, I don't have a lot of experience with team battles. I barely played them.
Right.
But my thought on them is that they were actually a good thing. And I found it quite weird that Wargaming decided to remove this.
Right.
Because it was a sort of a secondary thing to the whole 7v7 competitive mode that they wanted.
Right.
That didn't work out. But team battles in itself allowed for a lot of fun play, as if so that you could, instead of playing with randoms, you had your own team, sort of as a clan, but less competitive, and you could experiment, you could try new things, you could have a lot of fun, and this sort of like playground, as it is, allows for a lot of fun stuff. And I don't understand why you'd want to remove that from your game.
Right.
It takes away the player's creativity.
See, I disagree with it to some extent on it being a playground, in the sense that it actually had more of an effect on your statistics, on your service record, like your personal rating and whatnot, as opposed to random battles. Like, you could win like 10 matches in team battles and you could go up like 500 personal rating instantly, like that. It was so easy to farm personal rating points from team battles that you'd have to take it seriously to some extent if you were playing it like on a regular basis with lots of battles, But I also agree with you with it being very fun and also being very good as opposed to random battles, because one of the things I did back in my clan, back in Unique Legacy, for anyone who might know about the community, it was a 300 member strong community, Unique, Universal and United Legacy. And one of the things we did when we were transitioning from tier 6 skirmishes to tier 8 skirmishes is in between we used tier 8 team battles as a way of not only working on our teamwork, because you have the still 7-man team, but you're now playing at a higher tier, but you also open to more maps, and it was attack defense. So you're working with 2 bases, you're either attacking or you're defending, and it opens up some awkward new angles that most people wouldn't have played in before. And it was very good for experimenting with positions and learning new positions, or learning how to play your tank, or just learning how to play against other tier 8s. It was a good stepping stone from tier 6 skirmishes up to tier 8 skirmishes. That's my personal opinion on it, and I loved it. Like, we used to play it within my clan, I used to have a set group of like 10 to 20 members, right? A core group of us, and every single night we'd get together after skirmishes and we'd play team battles and we'd crank those matches out. We had people there who knew nothing about the game, brand new to the game, and they were like racking up within the first 2,000-3,000 of their random battles, right? They were racking up 6k 7k personal ratings just from playing team battles with us. I know to most of the viewers out there, 6k 7k personal rating might not be a lot, right? Some of you will be sitting at 8k 9k 10k personal ratings, but when you're new to the game and your experience in the game is limited to, or your interactions with other players in the game is limited to, average / slightly below average players, then that's a huge deal for you, especially when you start hitting those numbers right at the start. You're doing better than everyone around you, allegedly. And it was definitely a huge thing for us. We enjoyed it. But, World of Tanks, I assume, judging by the article they wrote, they believed it to be a niche with no progression or goals, that it was outdated and out of sync from the rest of the game mode. Like, to what extent do you agree with that, of it being outdated? Because personally, I found it being fairly popular, right? Because I used to play with a lot of people that used to play team battles. Apparently, World of Tanks found that it wasn't very popular of a game mode. What are your thoughts on that?
I find it weird that they said that they didn't want, that it was outdated and such, but they've sort of brought it back in other formats. They've brought it back with Team Clash, and they've brought it back with Brawl in very similar ways.
Yeah, I totally get that. They started to bring it back with Team Clash, right? And that's the sort of ESL-esque or WGL-esque sort of game mode. And you see a lot of top players playing that. Like the other day, what was it? Toxic, I think it was, from our clan, right? One of our new players, not very experienced, not very good at the game either, comes across Shockish from WGL. Now, some of you who are watching will know who Shockish is. And Shockish had a bunch of his friends playing with him as well. That was a very one-sided match, So I'm glad to see that they're bringing something back. I just personally feel having that lower tier game mode at tier 8, removing that was a huge mistake in my opinion, because it was a good stepping stone for people who want to get into the 7 vs 7 brawl mode, Yeah, it may not be as popular, but it was a huge way of making that step up, you know? But going back to what we were saying about it having no progressions or goals, and that being primarily why World of Tanks removed it, right? Because they were saying there's no progression, there's no goals in it, there's no missions you can accomplish, you know, there's no aim. You're not gaining any resources for your clan. You're not, you know, what's the word? You're not actually getting any personal missions done. You're not getting any reward vehicles for it. There's no reason or incentive to play it other than enjoying it, right? And that's why they removed it. It doesn't fit in with random battles, with front lines, with Steel Hunter, with even the brawl match, the brawl game mode, right?
I think that the whole progression thing is something that wargaming have in the back of their mind, like, oh, you need to have progression, you need to have achievements and objectives.
Right.
You don't. You don't,
No.
because you can have a good game and a fun game without that.
Yeah.
That people don't play random battles to like ranked battles, right?
Right.
They play random battles because they like playing the game. If you
Well,
play team battles,
that or they're addicted, right?
or they're addicted, exactly. But if you play team battles, it's to have fun with your team.
Right.
That's why they're called team battles. It's your team.
Right.
It's not supposed to have progressions or objectives or something of the sort. It's not.
I think the problem is with all the hype that came around with certain battle royale games, right? Since the removal of team battle, right? You had Fortnite, you had PUBG, and then Warzone came out like shortly after. Well, I say shortly after, a couple of years after, to be honest.
Apex and that sort
Apex Legends, all those sort of games where they all have this sort of, what's the word, battle pass, which, you know, World of Tanks did go on to implement, not as much of a pay to win as in the other games, but I think they allowed the pressure of these other games and these other game modes to have an effect on their decisions a bit too much. I mean, honestly, if the progressions and goals was an issue, they could have easily like adjusted team battles. It could have easily been improved or revamped. For example, right? They could have made it a bit like ESL where players could get glory points or fame points basically for winning and doing well. They could bring back ranked team battles because that used to be a thing, right? They could have like special campaigns just for team battles, right? Or they could even bring it back as a sub tier 8 skirmish game mode, right? For clans that don't yet have the numbers to play 10 vs 10 or 15 vs 15. Or even better, instead of having advances 15 vs 15, have like an ESL-esque 7 vs 7 tier 10 game mode, right? 4 skirmishes, where the amount of resource points you make for that is a lot larger, aimed specifically towards the top level clans, where a lot of the players there who have gone inactive used to be old XESL and WGL players. Like, I think that could be a huge thing for all the tanks.
Exactly, because of the whole 7v7 format, it forces you to rely much more on a single player than a 15 versus 15 or 10v10 skirmishes. Where it doesn't matter so much the whole team, it matters that every player is good and can play with each other.
Right. Well, moving on to the last topic before we finish up here, because we're coming close to finishing. What was this game mode useful for anyways, team battles, in your opinion? Me personally, I found it huge for clan training and for clan team chemistry. I think that's probably the best reason for keeping the 7 vs 7 format around in a team game mode, where you can have a full squad of 7 as opposed to a platoon of 3 in the new brawl game mode, right? Being able to work with your teammates, you know, get to know them, understand the little quirks of each of your players, right? Get to know how each of you think, learn new positions on the map, learn different crossfires, all those sort of things. I think that's what team battles had to bring to the table, and by removing the game mode, you are taking a really unique aspect of the game out. And you know, realistically, with skirmishes only lasting up until about 1 a.m. UK time, right? 1 or 2 a.m. UK time, depending on the day. Weekends, it goes up to 2 a.m. Every other day, weekdays, it goes up to 1 a.m. There's nothing for those midnight gamers, those gamers who come online when most of the average to below average players are asleep in the middle of the night. That's when all the, like, old players come on, like the players who have been playing since the start, the guys who are good at the game and have been playing for a very long time. That's when they come on to grind, to farm points, farm WNA, all that sort of stuff. It would give them something to do, and if you add some sort of aspect where you can get resource points for your clan or something, then they'll probably see more popularity come back to that game mode, in my opinion. And heck, add some reward vehicles into it if you need to, exclusively for that game mode. I think that'll bring up the popularity of that game mode a lot, and it also brings back dynamic gameplay, which World of Tanks has been missing for a while, in my opinion.
You've got tons of rewards in World of Tanks. You can have bounty equipment, you can have personal reserves, you can have tanks, styles, etc. If you really want that progression, and if you really want those rewards, which most people are asking for, but if you really want to put that, it's not hard.
I think that's about that there for now. So just a brief recap. World of Tanks, in our opinion, removed team damage for the sake of avoiding accidents where, shots accidentally hit allies and whatnot. In return, it has led to a bit of promotion to trolling and toxicity within the game mode, but not a lot. And we'd say, in general, removal of team damage was an alright decision. We think there could be some things implemented, such as a reverse friendly fire game mechanic or a report feature where 5 out of 15 people report this person for, harassment in game. Team damage comes on. They go blue, you can start doing team damage to them, you can take them out. Something like that could very easily be brought in to improve the removal of team damage and reduce the amount of trolling. Team battles, on the other hand, was removed because World of Tanks felt that, it was an old style, didn't fit in with everything else, a bit of a niche, and there was no progression or goals that fit the rest of the game modes. But of course, as we just discussed, it's very easy to bring in progressions either through some sort of battle pass or some sort of, meet a certain quota by the end of the month and you get a reward of, I don't know, X amount of reserves or X amount of, directives, whatever it might be, right? Or just extra credits, whatever it might be, right? Or even resource points for clan battles. But that's that, guys. If you enjoyed this discussion, you can find the other episodes for this podcast over at xter101.wixsite.com/what's up. Yeah, I know it's a long URL. I apologize. Stay tuned for the next episode. I hope you all enjoyed this. I hope you all enjoyed this little conversation. If you have anything to say, leave a comment down below. Get in touch with us. Once again, you can find Mo at Mo_pineapple on Instagram. You can find myself on Twitch at twitch.tv/xter101. Guys, let us know what you think about the removal of team damage and team battles. See you in the next one, guys. Take care.
See you guys. Have fun.